communication with the host. Here's something to take into account. A, when you send an inquiry, how long does it take that host to reply? B, when you book, what kind of communications are you having with the host while you're booking? And then C, during your stay, if A and B, if the host responded, the inquiry in a timely manner, and when you booked, they gave you the necessary information when they booked, and you're not going to have a problem going forward. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 subjects that oftentimes lead to frustration and disappointment when booking a short-term rental. Welcome, my beautiful people. Fernando David here, and I'm going to give you the 5 most common reasons why people get frustrated or disappointed when they book a short-term rental. If you take this into account and take the steps that I'm about to give you, it'll help you avoid any frustration or disappointment when you book a short-term rental. The first one's going to be pricing. I don't understand, and this part for me personally, I don't understand why it's an issue, but it clearly is an issue to a point in which that Airbnb came out with a policy and a added feature to their platform is called transparency pricing. Here's the deal with that, people. Every OTA is going to have some type of service fee. You're going to have to pay some type of tax. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter what property you're booking. You're going to have to pay, in addition to the daily rate or the weekly rate or monthly rate, you're going to have to pay some kind of fee, either a cleaning fee. Some people charge you a linen fee. Some people charge you, doesn't matter, tourist tax. Like if you go to Europe, there's going to be some kind of vet tax that you're going to have to pay in addition to that daily rate. On Airbnb, you can click and ask for what's called transparency pricing, and it'll give you that in advance. But regardless of whether or not that's available, please understand that there will be some additional costs on top of that daily rate when you book a short-term rental. So what I recommend you do before you click book, make sure you go through the process, make sure you read in the descriptions to see if there's additional fees, because in most cases, it will be written there. So for example, in all of our properties, let me backtrack a little bit and explain why we're able to do this. If a property is being managed or is being pushed through an OTA from what's called an API platform, in layman's term, if the property has a channel manager and or a PMS system, and you have enough properties within that account, Airbnb is going to allow you to do certain things that they normally do. So for example, if you are a mom and pop operator, you're not going to be able to charge guests outside of the Airbnb platform. But you can do that if it's an API connected property. So for example, for us, we are an API connected property. So we are allowed to request, for example, a security deposit. In addition, if you don't want to leave the security deposit, you can pay for an insurance policy that we refer to as a waiver of the security deposit by paying that. That happens off the Airbnb platform. Now, we are allowed to do that because we are an API connected property, but it's listed in my description. If you read everything in that description before even booking, you're going to see that you're going to, for example, for us, you're going to see that you're going to have to do 2 things. You're going to have to go through a verification process. That verification process is a background check for us, and it verifies who you are on top of what you already did with the OTA. And it's going to ask you to either leave a refundable security deposit and or pay for a waiver. But that's in the description. So if you take the time to read everything before booking, you're going to avoid that surprise, because it's not a surprise, it's there, it's clearly written. And other companies or anyone that's going to charge you an additional fee outside of the daily rate will have that listed in their description. So to avoid that frustration, make sure you read that. The next is going to be a big subject of frustration is when hosts intentionally or unintentionally write stuff that makes the listing appear to be inaccurate when someone gets there. This is why I'm a big fan. Now, this doesn't relate to you, this relates to hosts. I am a big fan, and I tell all my clients not to write anything related to what I refer to as adjectives that are added to something to add fluff to it. So, like for example, I don't like people to write very comfortable sofa, very comfortable bed, because what's comfortable for you may not be comfortable for me. Just write what the mattress is. It's a queen size mattress, king size mattress. If you want to add the name or the brand of the mattress, add that in there. Add what type of, is it firm, soft, whatever it is, add those descriptions, but don't add any add-on adjective that is subjective. Avoid that. But you, as the guest, when you read that, one of the ways to ascertain if the description is accurate or not is by going and reading the reviews. Because if a listing has stuff that is inaccurate, somebody's going to write about it. Again, going back to personal opinion stuff, avoid that stuff. You'll see some guests will write, the bed was very uncomfortable. That bed, but continue to read it. If more than 2 or 3 people are writing the same thing, then that's an issue. But if one person writes about the bed's uncomfortable, that's not an issue. That was a personal preference. Make sure you read the reviews, but read it with a fact versus fiction type of mindset. Meaning, are they writing something that's an opinion? Or are they writing a fact? Here's an example. If the listing states it has Wi-Fi and everyone's writing that there is no Wi-Fi, that's a fact. You can't, it's either has it or it doesn't. But you're going to be able to see that before you book a property if you take that extra step to read the reviews. Along the same lines of the reviews, read all the reviews. Because oftentimes they may be an issue for one guest, but you'll see that the host took corrective measures to fix that. And or you're going to see that it's a one-off issue. So when you're looking at those reviews, take that into account. The next, which is another issue that causes a lot of headache or heartache for guests, is when they arrive at a property that's not clean. This is kind of simple because you're going to be able to see that in the reviews. So again, look at the reviews to see if there's been issues with cleanliness in the past, and look at the ratings. You're going to be able to tell whether or not this host or this company just clearly doesn't care about the property and doesn't take care of it, because you're going to find that in the review. Next is communication with the host. Here's an easy way. Well, it's not easy, but here's something to take into account. A, when you send an inquiry, how long does it take that host to reply? B, when you book, what kind of communication are you having with the host while you're booking? And then C, during your stay, if A and B, if the host responded to the inquiry in a timely manner, and when you booked, they gave you the necessary information when they booked, and you're not going to have a problem going forward. But if you send an inquiry and the host doesn't respond to that inquiry, that's a red flag, people. Then if you book and you haven't received any communication from that host, that's a red flag. But I'm going to say this and I'm going to caution you with the following. And I don't know why this happens, but this happens often. What you need to understand, a lot of times this communication comes through the platform. Some of you guys, for whatever reason, create these accounts with an email that you don't use or look at. Don't do that, because that's where you're going to get this communication. So don't book a property and at the last minute realize I'm going to be checking in tomorrow or today, for example. Then look at that email, because you're going to miss a lot of communication that may be important and steps that you may need to take prior to checking in. So to avoid that, make sure that the email you're using is an email that you're going to look at, you're going to read, so that you don't miss any communication. But more importantly, if you're not getting any communication, that you can take care of that even before you get to the property. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about are amenities. This is another big one that I don't understand why this is an issue, because if a guest says there's an amenity, or if you're not looking to see if it has an amenity that you want, then bad on you. Right? But again, you need to look to see if the amenity you want is listed, and if it's not, I wouldn't even proceed. But if it's not, and you want to confirm that it's not, then send an inquiry or send a message to the host and ask, is the specific amenity available? And find out and ascertain to make sure that what you want and need is there. So I'm going to give you an example for us. We provide a pack and play and a high chair for people that request it. It's in our listing as available, but it's in our listing that you have to request it before you get to the property. You have to request it 24 hours in advance so that we can get that to you. So again, it is incumbent on you to make sure you read and make sure you ascertain these things, because if you show up to the property and that high chair or that pack and play isn't there, don't get mad at the guest because you didn't do your part. Anyways, if you want to learn more on how to avoid problems when booking a short-term rental, then subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram, but more importantly, subscribe to my Instagram. If you want to donate to the channel, buy me a coffee. The link's below. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.